art can mean different things to different people. For me, it's all about the joy of creating. So if you draw, paint, write, dance, sing, craft, play air guitar, or even sculpt using nothing but mashed potatoes, consider yourself an artist and join the conversation. For the next half hour, meet the artist, learn about their inspiration, and enjoy the beauty of creativity. Welcome to Art Talk with John Cole Artist. All right, there we go. Oh my heavens! You know, a couple weeks ago, I made a slight mistake with the broadcast to Facebook, and this time I hit the broadcast button and I disconnected everything. So, as always, there's always a technical issue. Good evening, Anna Davis. How are you doing?
I'm great, John. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing well, and I appreciate you being a little bit patient there. The technology works great, except sometimes John doesn't.
These things are a learning curve.
Exactly. So as always, folks, before we get started, here's my trusty REM pod for ghosts. So maybe, Anna, with you, I'll have a little better luck tonight because so far nobody showed up. So we're going to go ahead and turn this thing on. And if we get lucky, it'll buzz. And if it... There we go. It was... Let me move that away. I don't want people to think there's ghosts here just yet. So Anna Davis, so I really appreciate you being on with me tonight. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I live in the Florida Keys. Been down here well over 30 years with my husband. We raised our son here. He's out of my nest now, living on the other side of the country, away from me. So it's given me more time to myself to pursue my own interests. So got into this program, and I believe working with my inner child is what has brought me to doing more art projects. So I would say most of the art that I'm doing is inspired by my inner children.
Yeah, and it was funny because I know I had reposted the advertising for tonight's broadcast, and you made a comment something along the lines of you were surprised to be called an artist or something like that. But I have examples of your work that we're going to take a look at tonight, and don't sell yourself short because you really do some very, very good things.
Thank you.
And it looks like Lucinda Bentley's online. I see you guys again. Cindy, sorry if everything got weird there tonight. And my lovely wife Christine's on. Hey, Christine. So yeah, you know, I advertised you originally as an acrylic pour artist, and subsequent to that, you sent me some other pictures, which again shows me this broad scope that you have. But I would really like to talk about acrylic pouring first, because I think sometimes people don't understand that. So could you talk a little bit about that with me?
Okay. So I don't know exactly how I ran across it. You know how you're just surfing around the internet and I just saw these people and they're just pouring paint on a canvas and moving it around in different ways and coming up with these awesome, designs and stuff. So I was like, oh, I can try that, and then I kind of got a little obsessed with it and just kept buying more paint and then buying more tools and trying the different techniques. And from the blow dryer technique, I think is one of my favorites, where you just put the paint on the canvas and then you blow it around where you want it. And then there's the swiping technique where you take like a spatula, or it can be really anything, and you put maybe some of the activator. Some people use silicone oil, or Floetrol, or even people just mix the paint with water and do it. And then if you swipe across, it just, gives a different effect.
Let me bring up a painting really quick and let's talk a little bit about it. Let's see.
I'll try to remember what I did on it.
There we go. So far, so good. It's working.
So this is one of my favorites. It has all my favorite colors because I love purple, I love blue, I love green. So it's all on there. And I believe I did this one with a blow dryer. And I did one side, I put the base down. It's like the green, the sea green, and then the other side was the royal purple. And then I don't remember if I just poured it out, what they call a Dutch pour, where you pour more paint onto the canvas,
Mm-hmm.
and then you blow it out with the blow dryer. And none of my paintings ever come out looking the way that I, imagine that it's gonna look, but they all come out really cool. Like, I've only had a couple that I just didn't like, and then I just paint over them.
Right, right.
Always just pour more paint over the top. And there's a couple of people that I've been following, and I love their work. And I felt like a fangirl when one of them replied to me.
Oh, nice, nice.
Gave a comment. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, and that is just one of my favorite ones. It's got what she says. Christine's talking about the cells, the like bubbles. I guess that's what they call cells.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this looks like a sea fan.
It looks like
we have sea fans that are a soft coral in the Florida Keys. And
right.
To me, and that looks kind of sea fanish too.
Right. So let's all right. So for those that don't know, the process itself, right, is in this particular case you're using canvas.
Yes.
Probably from Michaels, maybe.
Amazon.
There you go. Or Michaels or Amazon, right? Or a matter of fact, I've seen them at places like Big Lots and stuff like that. Right?
I've also got them at the dollar store.
Yep.
I started out with dollar store ones, right. And there were littler ones. This is actually the biggest size that I've went to. Like, I finally got brave enough to do a really big one, and these are, I think, 11 by 20, I believe.
Okay. So it's the canvas, and then so the type of paint.
I've been using all the ones that are specifically pour paints, so they're ready, like they're ready-made to just
go.
Pour out. Yeah.
Okay, and then so process-wise, it's a matter of setting the canvas down. And then I know what I've done is I'll put the different colors in like paper cups. Although I think if you buy it in squirt bottles, right?
I have squirt bottles, yeah.
Okay. And then you just pour it on there?
The techniques that I've done, so the techniques that I've done, and I've done, because like every time I see her do a different one, I'm like, oh, I have to do this one. There's what they call the Dutch pour, where you pour the paint right directly onto the canvas, and then you can just move it, or you can, do the different swipe or the blowout or whatever. And then there's what they call a dirty cup pour, where you layer up the paint
right
in the cup, and then you can either, a lot of times they'll pour it out in a circle, and and it kind of does like a rainbow effect, and then you can tilt it to get it the way you want it, or you can wreck it, where you like take your finger, or I have one of my favorite tools is chopsticks. to kind of move the paint around that way. Yeah.
All right. So Michelle, hi Michelle. Thank you for joining us tonight. She asks, so you don't have to purchase the most expensive materials to try this?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I actually started out just using like leftover, it was like pieces of wood. We'd had some work done on the house, and there was just like some pieces of wood left over. And I started out on those, and one was a 2x4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it looked pretty good. And then I graduated to buying the smaller canvases from dollar store because they're cheap. And the paint, you can get cheap paint from the dollar store.
Yeah, the craft paint. I noticed the craft paint because it's a lot. Oh, well, so this is acrylic paint you're using, right? Okay, because I know that there's, for those people that are familiar with paint, there are different, viscosities, right? So if you buy, let's say the tube acrylic,
like
Yeah. So
Master's
this
Choice or something like that?
the ones that I have been buying are the ones that they are calling pouring paint. So it's ready to pour, and I don't have to mix anything with it if I don't want to.
Right.
But sometimes I add the different mixing pouring mediums to get it to thin out a little bit more.
Right. Now, it's funny you'd mentioned Floetrol.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't think of that word the other day. I was having a conversation with Christine. And for the life of me, I could not remember that word. Floetrol actually works really well. It's really inexpensive too. I think Home Depot and Lowe's and places like that sell that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think when I've tried this, the proportions, and I'm using craft paint, not the thicker heavy body paints because they're just too thick to work with. But the craft paint mixed like maybe 50-50 with Floetrol
Mm-hmm.
and provide can really provide some interesting effects too, right?
Yeah, right. Because that's how you get the what they call the cells, like the
Right.
little bubbles that are popping up.
Yeah, and what I didn't know at the time, because I think I watched some YouTube videos or something on when I first looked at this a couple years ago, and they had mentioned Floetrol, and what I didn't realize was it was something that you would add to latex house paint as an extender. I'm running low,
Right.
I'm going to add some more, and yet it works so great, and it's really, really inexpensive.
You can use latex house paint to do this kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I've never tried it, but yeah, I guess you could. But I
I'm
tell you, these are
actually to try to do a coffee table that I picked up.
that would be fun.
Yeah, and I saw another thing on YouTube, and I see Michelle's question, and that
Mhm.
is hilarious because, as my husband always says, I'm a messy cook, and I'm a messy artist, so I'm outside when I do it.
Oh, you do this outside?
I do it outside. I live in the Keys, so
Yeah.
we have the weather for it, and I do it outside. I started using silicone mats to put
Mhm.
underneath it, so the runoff creates what they call skins that I can peel up, and I have started making earrings and pendants out of out of the leftover skins.
That is cool. So
Yeah.
I mean, how that's intriguing. Let's talk a little bit about that. So because we've got, or I had over the last year or so, all this gunk at the bottom, right? But it's colorful, right?
Yeah.
So
And
how are you turning it into jewelry? How are you doing
so
that?
I got a kit that they're supposed to be for like when you want to put a picture or something
Mhm.
in like a locket or a pendant or earrings. And then it came with the glass uh what do they call cabochon, I guess they call them.
Mhm.
And so I just would take that little glass thing, I circle around the paint, I cut it out, I stick it into the base, and then I glue that in. I glue the little glass piece over it with some Gorilla Glue, and voila, earring.
Yeah, I think Lucinda sums it up. Wow, I never in a million years would have thought of doing that. And it's no
Well,
joke.
I'm one of those people that doesn't like to throw things away because I might need it. And so I'm always trying to like let's use this in some way. So
Right.
hilarious. I just did a pour on over the weekend, and I was the painting came out really cool, but I'm like, oh my goodness, look at the drips. They're awesome. I can't wait to make jewelry. So I haven't peeled them off yet, but yeah, so I'm excited to do those. And my friend that I work with, her daughter loves, if you ask her her favorite color, she says it's pink and purple, and
Mhm.
then they tell her that she has to pick one, and then she'll go rainbow. So I'm going to be making her some rainbow earrings and some pink and purple.
That is so cool. That is so cool. So, and the other interesting thing you said earlier, and this is probably worth mentioning too, if anybody out there watching this wants to give this a shot, and I saw that Lucinda had tried it and it wasn't for her. And I also saw Christine mention that she's very messy. And all that's true, right? It's either for somebody or it's not. And it is a messy
Oh,
thing,
it's very messy. I've
right?
had it in my hair. I get it on my jewelry. um, yeah, I've found that now I have to make sure I take my hair and I tie it up and put it up on top of my head,
Mm.
and I still get paint in it.
Mhm.
Because if you're, I have taken straws. I have a metal straw. Of course, I have a metal straw, and I would move the paint around with that. And
Mhm.
if you're getting down there and you're blowing it, and it blows, it blows back on you a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I usually have it all up and down my arms and all of that. But
Right.
it's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind being messy. It washes.
Yeah. And the thing and that point you made about it um looking different when it's dry.
Yeah.
That's important for folks to know if they're going to try this. Because what you start with, because paint settles, it's running, and even if you're laying it flat,
Yes.
it's still going to continue to do its thing, whatever that thing is, make some magic, right? Like the pictures you
Yeah.
show. Um, yeah, I've never once seen anything I've tried with acrylic pouring look like what it started off as. I mean, it
Yeah.
always, but that's part of the fun of it, though.
I think really what it is, it's putting the different colors together for
Mhm.
me, and seeing how those colors, blend together and, work off of each other and everything. And my husband was like, you need to use some different colors because the beginning ones were blues, purples, greens, and I'm like, well, those are my favorite colors, so of course I'm gonna use them. But I
Mhm.
have branched out. I just got gold and copper penny, and I haven't
Oh,
used them yet. So I'm getting ready to try to do like the metals on a black.
oh, that'll
back-
look beautiful.
So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited to try that. And I haven't done the balloon kiss painting. I did like a tiny bit of that on one painting because I didn't like what it looked like. So I tried the balloon on there and it was like, oh, that looks great. But the rest of it I liked. So I didn't do any more balloon kiss, but I want to do a whole balloon kiss painting.
Now, what is that technique? Is that taking a balloon and just
Yep.
okay?
And just like pressing the balloon down, and I've watched a couple of different artists, and some of them like will press it down and then press it onto another canvas and make another design out of it. So
Wow. Boy, you're yeah, this is all stuff that I mean, some of this stuff I haven't heard. There's bugs in here. I'm sorry, but there must be
yeah.
springtime here in New England. I've never heard of those techniques, so that's definitely something the next time I decide to mess up the house. I'll give it a go. Well, I mean, with New England, I mean, we had 60 degrees here today. It was like the first time since last fall that the temperature got that warm. And my first thought was, well, yeah, I mean, doing projects like this that are super messy, we don't really have the outside like you guys have in the Keys, where it's a little more convenient than it is here. But we do have a basement area where Christine and I have done this before, but it's been so cold over the winter. But now I'm like, you know what? This is the time to start bringing all that together. And with some of the things that you're saying, give it another go.
And you had posted some of ones that you had done previously, and then after you came back from Sedona, and you put the line. Those were magnificent.
No,
I
thank
I loved that. That was really cool.
Yeah, I had used for those particular, I had used some tile reusing, right? It was stuff that we bought at, I think it was the Restore, Habitat for Humanity's Restore. So, of course, finding that same tile again is next to impossible, but someday we
Right.
will. Just saying. Now, speaking of, how about, okay, for folks that don't want the mess, Anna is quite amazing. She's got a very broad scope of things. And this is something that that you had mentioned before in the past, because we've known each other for about a year and a half, give or take, right? 2 years, maybe. It's been a while. And it was fairy gardens, right? And I'll be honest with you, folks, I didn't know exactly what that meant. But she sent some pictures along. Could we talk a little bit about your fairy gardens? Because I'll be honest with you, the pictures you sent, and if all your stuff looks like this is some pretty cool stuff. So what exactly is a fairy garden?
Basically, it's a whimsical. You've decorated a space that's welcoming and any of the spirits of the nature that wants to come and
Mhm.
and I don't know, it just makes the plants look better too. Make it more like a whole, gardenscape.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I don't know how I actually got into it. Probably Pinterest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this was one of my first broken pot designs. And that's the other thing, when you break something, you don't want to throw it away. And the big blue pot, it has a lot of meaning to me. It was my neighbor's, and she hadn't thrown it away either. And she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have to do something with this pot.
Right.
So, yeah. And actually, it's been redone. And Keelan's helped me with it. And it has a new wall in front, and it's still being retooled.
Yeah, but I mean, what I really like about this, well, first of all, you did reuse, which is which is really a good, especially when it comes to things like broken pots and stuff like that, because there's really not much use for them other than just disposing of them and then end up in a landfill or whatever. But reusing it is cool. But the fact that there's this tiered steps that you put in there, was that broken pottery as well?
Yes, it was.
Right. With the house at the top, which gives it that added charm. But then the way you put the succulents, right? That's what those are?
Yep.
Yeah, I know something about plants. Okay. But there's just something really, really magical about this, so I get it. You know what I mean? This
It's some of Kate's magic in there too, because that was her pot. And
yeah.
So I feel that maybe her spirit is residing in some of these things.
Right. Lucinda put, they are as beautiful as the picture. And I believe that. I absolutely believe that. And then there's this one with the.
Those are dragons. That's my dragon garden, which it's been retooled now too. But this was one of those blue stones glow in the dark.
Okay.
And so this was on my front porch, and it gets nice sun. And then at night when you walk outside, you got glowing rocks, so the dragons can see.
I love that. But you know what? What I think what really strikes me the most also is, any one of these things, the dragons, the succulents, the pot of dirt, the different stones, we oftentimes don't consider bringing all these dissimilar things together in a constructive way that makes them meaningful and beautiful. I don't think we tend to do that as often as I think we should. It's like those folks that take, and we talked briefly about this before we started, before I screwed up that broadcast there for a second. But we talked a little bit about like welding and things like that, and how there's a lot of artists that take, spare parts and gears and stuff, and they make these incredible things. This is no different than that.
I just have a good time putting it all. You can, take the pot and just put all plants in there, but when you add a little something else, it makes it fun.
Yeah.
This is a fun one, but these plants did not work well for me. I killed them.
What type are those? Are those like ferns or something?
They were all ferns, and I think it was just too hot.
Okay.
And but I retooled it again. So
right.
It's other stuff. Yeah.
Now, what was are those the biggest ones that you've made, or have you made anything like super big?
Well, my tree out in front of my house has a big planter around it, and I've kind of made that into a fairy garden out there. And it's kind of gotten overgrown. I need to go out there and clean it up a little bit, but that's probably my biggest one.
Right.
And I have plans to do something on the back side where you put, the secret door, that looks like it's going into the tree, so.
Yeah. I've actually, I remember I lived in California or someplace like that. There was this trend that was going around where people would paint fairy doors and then they would leave them all over the city, which is such another cool thing. I mean,
yeah, that's like rock painting. I was doing that for a while too. I haven't done the rock painting in a while, but that's
rock painting, right? Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah. And Michelle writes, I love the playfulness of your work, Anna, and I do as well.
Like I said, a lot of this I really believe is inspired by my inner child, and I've finally not been suppressing them, hiding them away and letting them out. And I would have never really labeled myself as an artist, because I don't know. I just, I was thinking you have to be a professional or one of the masters or something like that. But then I've realized that yes, we all are artists,
Yep.
and I did say that I would claim every year at Halloween when I make my pumpkins, I would call myself a pumpkin artist,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband told me I didn't send you the best one, but that's because it was well before digital, and so it's somewhere just in a picture.
Mm-hmm.
It was one that I spent 6 hours carving. And that was
hours just to get the top off of the pumpkin.
Yeah, it was just that wasn't scooping it out and all of that. But it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're still how many months away from Halloween? What are we in April, May, June, July, August, September, October? We're still 6 months away, but you are a pumpkin artist. Like, oh my gosh, it's a little scary. If there's any kids watching, maybe they should leave the room shut. But that's so cool.
That one was a pretty easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of these are made with those carving kits that you see every year. And when I first started, when my kid was small,
right?
And so he was like, he wanted to carve a pumpkin, so we got one of the kits and we did the easies. And then after that, the next year, I was like, oh no, I'm doing the challenging. So I always did challenging ones after that. And
so
he's one of my favorites, that one there.
Yeah, I mean, it's so. This isn't carved all the way through. Is it just like
no?
Okay.
No, the where all the red is open, and that light inside of it actually changed colors. It changes color, and so I snapped the picture when it was on the red because I thought it looked scariest.
Well, it does. It looks super scary, and I will be dreaming of that tonight. But that's my problem. So you're saying all that's cut open area, like straight through to the inside of the pumpkin?
Yes.
How did you?
And so those little pieces that are sticking up, you have to be very, very careful when you're, carving it out that you don't break those off when you're taking out the big piece, like the forehead piece. That's, you have to take that out without breaking all of those.
Right.
So it's you have to use the little tools that they gave you, and some of the tools are really cool. They're like little teeny tiny saws and stuff like that, but they're fun.
Fun. That is so cool. I mean, I am just amazed at how many different things. And then you talked about that jewelry with the paint drops too. I mean, are there other things that you do that I don't even know about?
Well, I make some really, really awesome looking food too.
As a matter of fact, in 2 weeks, I'm going to have Blair Shiver on, and she's going to be talking about food and art. So that's perfect segue into that. Yeah. I think that because we eat with our eyes first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Although it's better in my tummy. I'm just saying. Oh, hey, Jerry's here. Let's say hi to Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Well, looks like 30 minutes went by that fast. Oh my heavens. I could keep talking to you for hours. So I would, number one, want to say thank you for spending this last half hour with me. I really think that the things that you're doing are pretty amazing. Now, can people contact you for anything, or is this something that you're doing just for yourself?
I am developing a website. So like the earrings that I'm making will be available, and I probably will go ahead and put my paintings on, but like some of them I probably won't because I won't want to sell them. Right. I'll want to keep them. But yeah, that's something I'm working on actually. But it's not quite ready yet. But if my email, if anybody wants to email me, my email is bananaanna, BANANANNA 29 @gmail.com. So basically add NNA to banana and then add a 29. That's it.
There we go. Perfect.
That's it.
So, and the other thing is I like I said, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'd love to have you on again so we could talk about other things as well. So by all means, reach out to me when you get a chance, or I'll reach out to you and we can schedule some time again together, because this is cool. So, all right, folks, that's the end of our broadcast for tonight. A couple things. First thing is, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could hit the subscribe button, that'd be really cool, because that way you know when I'm broadcasting or messing up the broadcast. And if you look there, there's also the other interviews that I've had with some of the previous artists. So by all means, stop by, check them out. And the other thing is, thank everybody who's watching live and those folks that are watching the replay later. I really appreciate it, because what I'm trying to do here, I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to, put myself in the spotlight. But what I am doing is I want to be able to share stories with people of how they're looking at art, what they're doing, and just that creative process, because we're all creative. And like you said, Anna, we are all artists. And I think the more that we share that, the better we are as people, and the more we can communicate and get along. And that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. All right. If you could just hang on the line. Oh, Christine, last second. Thank you both. I learned so much. You're both amazing. Thank you, Christine. All right. If you could just hang on, and I will see you in a few minutes. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so very much for joining me on the Art Talk podcast, where it's my goal to bring artists together to talk about their craft. If you'd like to join me for a conversation, please reach out via email at johncoleartist@gmail.com or by visiting my website at johnrobertcole.com. So until next time, keep crafting, painting, and inspiring others with your creativity. You make more of an impact than you know. See ya.